Okay, we're going to continue from where we left off, although I think they were going back for one line. This would be verse 2. Again, this is Parashat Emor in Vayikra, that's Leviticus 21, verse 2. So we said about the sons of Aaron, the Kohanim, they're not supposed to metami themselves just for anybody. It says they shouldn't metami themselves for any, become impure amongst his people, for the dead, except ki'im, except l'sh'ero hakarov elav, except for the flesh that is closest to him. We'll see it's talking about his wife, but it goes on and says li'imo ula'aviv, ulivno, v'lito, ul'achav. So far we have how many? L'sh'ero is his wife, doesn't say that exactly, but we'll see soon. You have his mother, his father, his sons, his daughters, and his brother. And we know there's 7, so we're missing one. I'll just read verse 3. And to his virgin sister who is close to him, who has not been unto a man, for her he shall make himself impure. L'chato betula hakrova elav asher lo hayata leish lo yitameh. So that's 7 altogether. If we understand the words l'she'ero, it really means flesh, and we'll understand that to mean his wife. Okay, let's start. Ki'im l'she'ero, that's verse 2. Tam isur hatumahu. So the reason for this forbidden act of becoming tum, right? He's not allowed to become ritually impure. Ba'avur ruach hatuma hanishar dabek beguf ha'adam. On account or for the spirit, this impure spirit that remained cleaving, enmeshed with the dead person. Okay, Emor, that's why it actually says la nefesh lo yitameh. We translated that as, the way ArtScroll does, to a dead person he shall not become impure. The word nefesh means the soul. For a soul he shall not become impure. La nefesh. So it's like the lamed is 2, and he says lo amar ba nefesh. It doesn't say in the nefesh itself, as he will explain that the nefesh, the soul of a person, never becomes impure. It's actually the absence of the nefesh, even though it's the nefesh that's causing the impurity as it is being removed by the angel of death. What's left behind is this impurity. So let's read what he says. That's why it says la nefesh, to the nefesh he shouldn't become impure, and it doesn't say ba nefesh, within the nefesh. Lefi shahanefesh mitzad atzma tahorhi, because the soul, from its own aspect, its essence, is totally pure. Ein bashum tzad tuma, there is no aspect of any type of impurity in the soul. Ach shahanefesh sibat tuma, however, it is the nefesh. The nefesh is the reason for this impurity. Ki kol sha'arei ba'alei chayim, all other life, right? Let's say animal life. She'ein b'hem nefesh hamaskelet. Animal life, animals do not have the high level of a spiritual intellect, a spiritual soul. Like even we have different levels of our soul. The lowest level, or one of those lowest levels, is the animal soul that they have, but we have higher levels. And one of the highest level of our soul would be this nefesh hamaskelet, a spiritual intellect, as I like to translate because it's a real combination between the Maharal concept of seichel is a spiritual intellect, and seichel also means spirituality. Okay, so that's the difference between man and animals. Ki im ruach hachiyunit levad. All that animals have are the lowest level of life force, a spirit of life, we call it a life force. Ein masisam ki im perud ha'arba yisodos, that their death comes just as a result of exhaustion of life, the separation of the 4 basic elements. The ein malach hamavis mizdakek lehem klal, and there's no requirement of an angel called the angel of death in order to come and remove this life force. It reaches its end, right? It's what do you call the expiration date? I mean, whether it was because of a lion eating a lamb, or it just it exhausted itself. That's why they don't have the highest level or a strict form of of impurity. Avol nishmas ha'adam eino yotzeit ki ima yidei malach hamavis. But the only way for the soul of a man to be removed, I shouldn't say the only, but he's explaining it this way, is usually through what we call the malach hamavis. We will find that tzaddikim, righteous people, it's called the kiss of death, and it comes out much easier. But the angel of death is required to either force or somehow draw out the life force of man, with the higher life force of man, which is the soul, because it has to come with some kind of force. It doesn't just give itself up. As Chazal say in Pirkei Avos, it says you are created by without free will. You were forced into being. You came through labor, through your mother. You were forced into life, and at the end, you're forced out of life into death. Al korka chatames. You don't really have a choice. V'hubo misitra hamisaba. It's coming from the dark or polluted side. Umevi atuma al guf. So through the angel of death's involvement, I don't know if it's through touching or breathing, but whatever, through the removal or his involvement in the removal of the soul, there remains some pollution behind. Zulat HaTzadikim, there is an exception, except for the truly righteous, Yechidei Adur, and the exceptional people in the generations, Hashem Misosam B'Neshika, which can come through what we call the kiss of death. And that's like taking a piece of hair out of a cup of milk. It's like effortless, right? And there's no pain involved. But that is through what we call the kiss of death. Lo de malach hamaves, not through the force that we're going to use to call the angel of death. Ein bem shum tzatuma. So by when tzaddikim die, real true tzaddikim or unique individuals of the generation, there may not necessarily be in these cases any type of tuma. Leficha hamnu chazal as in Brachos and Yerushalmi also, Shebiyom Shemesh Rabbeinu Kodesh, when Rabbi Yehuda Nasi died, Batla Kahuna. What does it mean, Batla Kahuna? They told all the Kohanim to go to the funeral, don't worry about it. There's no such thing as Tuma. Not that they said there's no such thing as Kahuna, they said there's no such thing as Tuma. So there's no problem with the Kohanim. Kilo Nitmu Bo Kohanim Klal. There was no, and that's why we see even today, in certain base kvaros, whether it's where Rabbi Meir Balanes is buried, or in the Marsam Machpelah, certain righteous are buried. Sometimes, it depends with Rabbi Obed, but sometimes Kohanim go in and duchen in these minyanim. Not everyone agrees, but anyway, Marsam Machpelah has many tombs underneath, and it may not be a problem at all, because that might not be where they're buried. But there are still Kohanim that don't go in there, and there are Kohanim that do. And it's very possible that anyone that is from the seed of Aaron, who is holy to God, az misosam aydei neshika o parcha mehem matuma. So then, through his death, is either going to be through a neshika or some type of disappearance, right, of a flying away and departure from them, any tumah. Nimshcha kedusha zu min Aaron kadosh Hashem el kol yotze yerecho, and then this kedusha, this holiness, is drawn forth from Aaron, who was holy to Hashem, towards all of those that come out from his loins. Shebekulam ein shum tzad tumah, that all of them don't. This is like a yicholiot. He's saying this as a proposal, that none of them have any aspect of tuma. Al kein muter lekohen his asek bikrovav, and maybe that's why it would be muter in the end for a kohen to involve in the burial of any one of his closest relatives, the 7 we just mentioned. What's the problem we should have with that? Well, what about his own mother, or what about his own wife? Who says that they are B'nai Kohanim, B'nai Aaron? But nevertheless, Avi v'imo u'beno bito v'achiv. So his father, his mother, his son, his daughters, or his brothers, kikulim mizer Aaron ema, I think that's an assumption at this point, but for the mother, that is. But assuming since they're all from the seed of Aaron, the Ishto Shokoin Kagufu Dami. This is the fallback position. That the person's wife, or in this case it's his mother, as well as his wife, right? The wife of the Kohen is Kegufo Dame, is like the man himself. Really, when we marry, our wives, we become one flesh. So she becomes, right? She adopts all the customs. Of course, she's dependent on his table, can eat truma. She's like a Kohen herself, so we get it. Now, even though we said maybe mutter because they are Kohanim and they don't have a high level of Tumah, nevertheless there is some aspect of Tumah, at least the 7 days, that they would have to remain in a state of Tumah and get the paraduma ashes, the red heifer ashes, and go through a process of becoming clean. But we're not claiming, he's claiming that that this impurity is not so great that it's going to go against, somehow work against the holiness of the Kohen himself. From the fact that the essence of this tumah is a light, it's a very light tumah. Nevertheless, the Kohen should not become impure for other Kohanim who are not within that close 7 relatives. That this mitzvah, or the allowance for him to mitame himself in this light way, is only placed on his closest relatives. Im ein lekohen krovim. Now, if the Kohen doesn't have any relatives for some reason, he could be an orphan or whatever. I'm talking about the dead Kohen. So mutar shisasek bo Yisraelim. So the best thing is that Yisraelim should involve themselves, not necessarily a Kohen who's not within the 7 closest relatives distance of him. Imein kan lo zeh v'lo zeh. But if the dead Kohen there's no Yisraelim that can help him, and there's no relatives that are even Kohanim that can help him, so we understand this to be a real case of a meis mitzvah, meaning a person who has no relatives. So then, pshita shemutu lo hisasek bo, any Kohen, I mean obviously even the Kohen Gadol, but we're talking about any Kohen can certainly involve himself. Afil Yisrael, the Yisrael mutar. What does he mean by that? Oh, so it doesn't have to be a dead Kohen. Even if it was Yisrael that had no relatives, we know what a meis mitzvah is. That means someone who has no relatives, the Kohen, and certainly in this case, we're talking about the Kohen Gadol as well. Here he says, the Kohen Gadol also b'kol ha'kroivim, whereas the Kohen is not allowed to even involve himself in the 7 closest relatives. Ki mitzad godel kedushato afilu tuma kala pogamto. And perhaps the reason why the Kohen Gadol normally cannot involve himself in even the 7 closest relatives is because there's such the high level of holiness. So even a slight level of tumah, which we described, would probably be the case between Kohanim and the closest family, that would not be permissible for the Kohen Gadol, with the one exception, although he becomes tameh through it, and that would be the meis mitzvah if there was no other. If the dead person didn't have any relatives. The next paragraph begins with what we said, except for, and it doesn't say wife, we don't translate that as his wife, although we're going to see that it is, except for his relative who was closest to him. So Chazal say, She'ero, in Yevamos it says that She'ero, we would mean it as either relative or flesh, Ze'ishto. Very good, but it says Vakasha. There's a difficulty here, and we have to figure out what's so problematic here. Why does it say Hakarov Olav Aloshin Zachar? If we're going to interpret She'ero as his wife, shouldn't it be in a feminine form? Hakrova Olav, who is closest to him in a feminine sense? That's how it should have been said, but it doesn't. It's masculine. Oh. And why are we calling his wife his flesh? Okay, this I can understand, but it's still, why are we using a form that is not as clear as it could be? It should say Ishta, it should say his wife. Why do you have to give me this form in a, I'm not going to even say it's poetic, I'm going to say it's hinted. It could have been more clear. Lama, and another question, Lama hakdima lo'aviv ve'imo. Why does his father come first? Right? I'm sorry, not. Why does his wife come before his father and his mother? Right? That's the question. B'derek pshat nira lefarish, and the way of simply explaining it, it seemed this is the way we should explain. Kidamasik b'perech haba says, Amal Rabbi Yossi le'Eliyahu. Rabbi Yossi said to Eliyahu, B'ma isha ozar tol adam. Like, what real help does a woman give to her husband? Tell me. Amar lo. He says, listen, right? It's almost rhetorical. Adam mevichitim, chitim koises. So the man, he goes out and he's a farmer, or he goes to the shuk and he buys chitim and he brings it home. That's what he does. He chews the wheat exactly as it is. Pishtan. So he brings pishtan home. Pishtan lodesh. And he just puts this raw material on his body. No. Nimshas mi'ir'enav midato al-raglav. You know what the woman does? I'll tell you what she does. That was the original question. How does a woman help her husband? Okay, so she enlightens his eyes. She brings him life, basically, and she stands him on his feet. It's really the woman who's providing the welfare for the man. We were told, I'm sure, whoever's listening to this, we are told that all the blessings come from the wife. So how does this come out? This is the explanation. Harehi she'era. She is his flesh. How is she his flesh? Hainem zoino. Meaning she's feeding him, she's nourishing him. Hakarova ilav. We said his flesh that is close to him. Ki hamazo nepach el guf haniza. That whatever you eat, it becomes, right, you are what you eat. Your wife takes that flour, she grinds it up, she bakes it, and it comes out. Her sweat, her love, right, the TLC, it's in the bread. All the energy and all that loving energy is now in you through eating that bread. And it becomes your body, your flesh. It turns into your flesh. Okay, so we said ubir katuv. So the explanation of the verse, where we talk about his flesh, which is close to him, meaning his wife, which is close to him, shitami lemishu zanoto, that he shall become spiritually impure for the one who nourished him. Lefisha hamazon karov el atzmuto, since this nourishment, this food, becomes close to who he is, because it becomes his actual flesh. V'hoisif bolecha. What she's doing is she's giving him, right, or through all the food, more flesh, which we call moisture here, in exchange, tmurat masha nitach mimenu. Remember that she came from him. There was some kind of a surgery in the very beginning. God put Adam to sleep and removed a part of him. Her whole existence exists because he gave up something, and she's returning it to him through this food. Av ken kol ishto kegufo damya. Therefore, every woman, every wife, is her husband. She is the flesh of her husband. She has the same status as, and we said that a man has to honor his wife more than himself. Here, you have to really look at the spouse as yourself. Apapi shelo nivre etzem me'atzmav ki'im zotapam. Even though that we say that, right, the woman is the bone of his, right, she's basically from his own flesh, and we think that only happened once, zotapam, in Breshit, by the original creation, the Yetzirah Rishona, when mankind first came on the scene and woman came out of him. We think it only happened once. But the truth is, every generation, every zug, every couple, after the fact that many generations have come. Yes, it's true, but through those generations, what does she do? She's doing the same thing. She's the light of his eyes. She's the shine of his eyes and the flesh of his flesh through her ability to provide nourishment for him. Al kain rui shitami lo. Certainly, it's fitting that he should become spiritually impure for her. Kidei shelo tita lomar, in order for people not to make the mistake and say, you might think that any Kohen could just go ahead and become Tameh for anybody who supports him. Therefore, it comes out in the language, right? We're talking about the language of Mazon here. It's really flesh. Once you mention flesh, then you understand we're talking about his wife, and not just anybody who's supporting the person. As it said earlier, this is in regard to the laws of relationships and forbidden relationships. The nakedness of your father's sister you shall not uncover. She is your father's flesh. Just to give out the idea that it means flesh. She'er avicha hi, because she is your father's flesh. You're not allowed to be with your father's sister. V'lo amar ishto b'ferish. And in our verse, it doesn't say ishto specifically, like we asked in the very beginning. And why was that? Kedei lefaresh hatam l'mahu v'tamei lo. In order to flesh out, so to speak, in order to explain this great reason why he should mitam himself for her, because she is his flesh through all the nourishment and love that she has provided in everything that she cooks and provides for him. The outside harem is yesh lahotzi mikan din. And even through an aspect of the hint, you can bring out a certain law. You can draw a law. Masha Amr Chazal in Perkei Megaltin in Moikatan. It says, a Talmud Chacham Shemet. God forbid, but it happens. A great sage should die. What should happen? Hakol Kikroi Vav. Everyone is like his family, and they should all go, Malavehim, eulogize for him, close their businesses down. Ki'im Sh'era Karov Eila. And like our verse says, except for what we call the closest relative, right? We interpret it as his wife, but interpret this now, except for the closest relative. Ki she'ero hainu zano. We already understood flesh, she'ero's flesh, meaning the one who nourishes. Guess what? Chazal say in Brachos in the Yud Zayin, kol ha'olam nizon b'shvil chanina b'ni. Right? That Gemara over there talks about the idea that all the world was being provided nourishment on account of a certain sage. And Chazal say in Baba Kama, Ein paronios bo'loilam ki al ba'avor shayim, that any calamity that comes to a world is coming on account of the evil people. But guess what? Ve'eno matchil kim batzadikim, but it begins with the righteous. And it says in Shmos, in Exodus 22, regarding damages when someone's not careful with fire, ki teitze eish umatza koitzi v'necha gadish. So when the fire goes out, like we're going to explain through negligence, and it finds thorns and weeds, but it ends up consuming proper grains, piles of grains. Shekavor nechal hagadish. It infers that it's past tense. It's true that it went out when the fire goes out and it finds these kotzim, but then it sounds like it's already consuming the gadish. It's already consuming the piles of nice grains. And what are the gadish? Hainu hatzadikim. That's why we say the righteous go first. Hinecha roa. You should really see shekar l'tzadikim gadish, that we call the righteous these piles of grain. Like a pile of grain that we are nourishing, that we are eating from them. The whole world is in existence, is nourishing, is being nourished on account of the righteous. That's what it means that it was already consumed. Hashem is using the same strategy that any tactician or strategist, a general in an army would do. Ki miderech halochamim listhom tchila ma'anot ha'ir v'lisra gdishim. Right? You want to capture a city. What do? The warriors, they go in and they create a siege and they close off the water source of the city and they burn down the storehouses of grains. So this will create not just a panic, but they have nothing to be nourished on, and they'll give up hopefully quite easy, and you don't have to lose any fighters in the process. Kamo Shapirish Rashi and Mak Shaparo. Rashi mentions over there in Exodus 8:17. Kaka Kadosh Baruch Hu oiser bizman she'en Yisrael oisim l'tzon yisbarach. This is how Hashem behaves when the Jewish people of their Father in heaven, who meisir tzila me'aleim techila. It's as if He removes their image, the image of God that is upon them first. U'mekalkel gedishim, and He'll ruin the piles of grain. Shalom yelehem maleachol b'schuto, so that they will not have what to eat in the merit of the righteous. Kederach shebiyana l'malav hersh v'yachid. It says over there in Parashat V'yachi, begoren, maybe you can help me with this. Begoren atad inyan akotzim v'agadish.
It's the same thing. That's the point. He's just bringing down over here. The goren atad is referring to the kotzim, which is referring to the thorns and the thing over here.
L'chak ne'amar, that's why it says over here in our verse, ki im l'sh'ero korila, except for the closest relative, and that is a hint. L'talmid chacham hamezin oto v'akol kikrova. This hints to the sage who is basically providing nourishment for that generation, and everyone would then be considered like a relative. V'dimo la'avi v'imo, and that's why it comes first to, just what we saw with the wife, if we translate it that way, it comes before the father and the mother. So too here, we want to know why it comes before the father and mother. We know the halacha that if, God forbid, one sees his father drowning and his rabbi drowning, he has to help his rabbi first, or in this case, he's going to explain about a lost object. You see the lost object of your father, lost object of your rabbi, you have to return the lost object of your rabbi first. Who are these people? It's your biological parents for sure, and they brought you into this world. But your rabbi is the one who brought you into the world to come. So it says in the Gemara, Baba Mitzia, Avedat Aviv, Avedat Rabo, if you saw a lost object of both your father and a lost object of your Rav, for example, floating in a river, you can only have time to save one of them. Obviously, if you can save both, you're certainly obligated to try. But if you can only save one, Avedat Rabo Kodemis, the lost object of your rabbi comes first. Zeyiklo gam b'zman shatzadik avad o aviv v'imo l'kachiktim avedat rabo. And this is included also in the time by the tzaddik. How do you read this? That is being lost.
From his parents. When his parents lost something.
Or your parents. Certainly the tzaddik comes first. In this case, your rabbi comes first. All right, let's finish the last 10 lines. Li'imo lo aviv. Now it does say to your mother and to your father. We're talking about this Kohen, right? We talked about the closest relative, and then it says his mother and his father. We're talking about in the list of 7, they come second and third, but it says mother first. Ki imo eina mizer Aaron. We did say that there's a chance that the mother or the wife may not be from the seed of Aaron, right? Anybody, almost anybody can marry a Kohen. There's not, right? It doesn't have to be just Kohanim that he marries. Zula mitzad shehiku guf bala. Aside from the fact that she is like the body of her own husband, therefore we're going to consider her al kein hikti ma'im. But she's not. She's not a Kohen, but we're going to put her first. Hadavar shu chidush yoter, because that's the bigger chiddush, the bigger novel idea, that because she is not, but we want to consider as if she is, we're going to put her first. About the Kohen Gadol, when it comes to the Kohen Gadol, he cannot mitami himself, not even for his own mother, certainly not for his wife. It says lo yitameh, but it mentions the Av first, hikti ma'av. So there's a switch in the order. Kizeh chidush yoter. This is a bigger novel idea. Mash eina mitami la'aviv. The fact that he's not allowed to mitami himself for his own father, who is mizer ara. So you would have thought that certainly he can. If you choose to try to explain it, zederech lo zu af zu. So then you can explain it, shiyoter karuv l'shmoa shitame le'imo. That it would be easier to understand that he should actually matami himself for his mother. Ki nitztara olav harbe beheriyon v'leda v'gidul. What did the mother provide? Maybe she's not from the seed of Aaron, but she experienced a lot of, let's just say, pain. She went through a lot of effort in bringing him into the world and bringing him up, and all the pains of motherhood, right, that comes along with it. Mash'en came ba'av, which may not be the same case. The father certainly didn't have 9 months of pain or any of the process before or after as much. Al ken yushnei mekomos elu. That's why it should be in these two places, meaning Hein Yitame Amor Khan, that he should mitami himself, that's mentioned here, and also Lo Yitame, that's mentioned by the Kohen Gadol, meaning that the regular Kohen should mitami himself, should purify himself through his on account of his mother, and the Kohen Gadol may not. Kulam derek lo ze avzu. You explain?
Not only this, but also this.
Not only this, but also this. It's logic. And furthermore, there's another concept. How do you know who your mother is? Okay, not that you look like her, but everyone knew she was pregnant. The whole community knew she was pregnant 9 months, and this is the baby that came out of it. But how do you know it's for your father? You're not so sure. So certainly the mother should have been more of we'll call it certainty. You know who your mother is. Kishem zinta imo imacher. God forbid, we don't know who the father is because perhaps she was promiscuous with another man. So you never know who the real seed is. Today is maybe a little different through DNA. Ze'eno obi. Perhaps it's not the father. Therefore, it could be that both of them you wouldn't know logically. And furthermore, I guess the shame involved by a woman is more difficult, it's more harsh than any kind of shame that can, right, nivel, any shame that can come for a man. Al kain hiktim imo. Certainly that's why the mother comes first in terms of where you are supposed to bury her. She shouldn't be left. In other words, God forbid, someone who lost both parents should make sure to bury and take care of the mother first. So if both caskets, in this case, are laying in front of you, certainly one should take care of the female first. However, Kohen Gadol, when it comes to the Kohen, so he's not allowed to do either. It says Lo Yitame, and it prefaces with the father, Hikti Ma'av, Bederek Lo Zu Avzu, V'Kalavi. He said certainly easy to understand. Okay. Anyway, have a good Shabbos, everybody.